6 months had passed since the night of the assassination attempt. 6 months since Taeyang had been shot protecting Zareth. 6 months since everything changed. Taeyang stood at his usual post outside the council chambers, watching ambassadors from a dozen species file past him. They all nodded respectfully. Some even smiled. It was very different from those early days when they had looked at him like he was dirt on their shoes. "The human hero," one of them said as they passed, a Matharian diplomat with blue scales and too many eyes. "They say you cannot be bought or bribed or broken. They say you are loyal unto death." Taeyang said nothing. He just nodded politely. He had learned that sometimes silence was better than words. Inside the chamber, Zareth was negotiating a peace treaty between two warring species. It was delicate work, dangerous work. 3 other diplomats had tried and failed. 2 of them had been assassinated for their troubles. But Zareth had insisted on trying. She believed peace was possible. She believed she could help, and Taeyang believed in her. His communicator buzzed softly. A message from Doyun back on Earth. Taeyang smiled as he read it. "Hana finished her treatment today. Doctors say she's completely healthy. She wants to thank you herself. She's talking about joining the diplomatic corps. Says she wants to help people like you do. I told her she's crazy. She said that runs in the family. She's not wrong. Anyway, your little sister is going to be fine. You did good, my friend. You did real good." Taeyang felt warmth spread through his chest. Hana was okay. That was all that mattered. That was why he had taken this job in the first place. And now she was healthy, strong, ready to live her life. The council chamber doors opened. Zareth emerged, looking tired but satisfied. The negotiations had gone well then. She saw Taeyang and smiled. It was a real smile now, not the cold, controlled expression she used to wear. Over the past 6 months, she had learned to smile again, to laugh, to trust. "Walk with me," she said. They walked through the ship's corridors together. It had become a routine. After difficult meetings, they would walk. She would talk about the negotiations. He would listen. Sometimes he would offer thoughts. Mostly he just provided a presence. Someone solid and reliable in a universe full of uncertainty. "The Keltheran ambassador tried to bribe me today," Zareth said as they walked. "Offered me mining rights to an entire asteroid belt. Very valuable. Very tempting. What did you tell him?" "I told him I don't accept bribes. I told him I learned that from my human guard." He looked very confused. She glanced at Taeyang with amusement in her purple eyes. "I think he believed all politicians were corrupt. I enjoyed proving him wrong." They reached the observation deck. It was Zareth's favorite place on the ship. Huge windows showed the stars stretching out in every direction. They stood there for a while, just looking at the endless universe. "I received an interesting communication today," Zareth said after a moment. "From the Council of 9. They want to know why I haven't tested you in 6 months. Why I trust you so completely. They think I've gone soft. They think you've manipulated me somehow." "What did you tell them?" "I told them the truth. That I stopped testing you because I realized something important. Testing proves nothing. Action proves everything, and your actions have proven your loyalty 100 times over." She turned to face him. "Do you know what happened after news spread about the assassination attempt? About how you saved my life? I heard some rumors. 37 species have requested human guards. 37. They all want protectors who cannot be corrupted, who keep their word, who value honor over wealth." Zareth's voice was filled with something that might have been pride. "You have changed how the galaxy sees humanity, Taeyang. One act of loyalty, one moment of integrity, and now Earth is one of the most sought-after partners in the known universe." Taeyang didn't know what to say to that. He had just been doing his job. He had just been keeping his promise. He never expected it to change anything beyond saving Hana's life. "There's more," Zareth continued. "The Council wants to offer Earth a permanent seat at the diplomatic table. Full membership, equal status with the founding species. It's unprecedented. Earth has only been part of the galactic community for 20 years. Most species wait centuries for this honor, but the Council believes humans bring something valuable. Something the galaxy needs. Why, what's that? Loyalty, integrity, the ability to keep your word even when it costs you everything." Zareth looked back at the stars. "Other species are stronger, faster, smarter, more advanced. But humans have something we lost a long time ago. You have honor, Real honor, not the political kind that changes with convenience. The kind that holds firm no matter what. They stood in silence for a while. Taeyang thought about everything that had happened. About the tests. About the treasures left lying around. About the night he nearly died. About learning to trust and be trusted. I have a confession, Zareth said quietly. 3 weeks ago I left a datapad on my desk. It contained access codes to my personal accounts. Billions of credits. You walked past it every day for a week. You never touched it. You never even looked at it. Taeyang felt a spike of anger. You were testing me again. After you promised? No, I wasn't testing you. Zareth turned to him and her expression was earnest. I forgot it there. Genuinely forgot. I was distracted by the peace negotiations. It wasn't until days later that I realized what I had done. And when I remembered, I felt fear. Real fear. Not fear that you would steal it. Fear that you would think I was testing you again. Fear that I had broken your trust. But you didn't take it away. You left it there even after you remembered. Yes, because I realized something. I wasn't afraid of you stealing it. I was afraid of you being hurt by my carelessness. I was afraid of damaging what we had built. She smiled slightly. That's when I knew I really trusted you. Not because I was testing and you passed, but because the thought of testing you felt wrong. Felt like a betrayal. Taeyang understood. Trust wasn't about tests and traps. It was about moments like this. About honesty and vulnerability. About choosing to believe in someone even when you had every reason not to. The contract ends in 2 weeks, Zareth said, changing the subject. You could go home. See Hana, spend time with your family. You've earned it 1,000 times over. I could, but you won't. You're going to accept the contract extension I'm about to offer you. Am I? Yes, because I need you, Taeyang. Not just as a guard. As a friend. As someone I trust absolutely. As someone who reminds me every day that integrity still exists in this universe. She paused. And because I think you need this too. Need to know that your honor means something. That your loyalty matters. That keeping your word can change the galaxy. Taeyang thought about it. He could go home. Could see Hana, could rest. But Zareth was right. He wasn't finished here. There was more work to do. More people to protect. More promises to keep. Double the pay, he said with a slight smile. And I want 2 weeks vacation next year to visit Hana. Done and done. Zareth extended her hand, a human gesture she had learned over the past months. Taeyang shook it. The deal was made. As they stood there, Taeyang's communicator buzzed again. This time it was a video message. He activated it and Hana's face appeared. She looked healthy, happy, full of life. Big brother, I wanted to tell you myself. I got accepted to the Diplomatic Academy. I'm going to help people just like you. I'm going to make a difference, she paused. And Taeyang, thank you. For everything. For saving my life. For showing me what real strength looks like. For being the best big brother in any galaxy. The message ended. Taeyang felt tears prick his eyes. He didn't bother hiding them. She's proud of you, Zareth said softly. I'm proud of her. She's stronger than I ever was. No, she's strong because you taught her how to be. You showed her what matters, what's worth fighting for. Zareth placed a hand on his shoulder, the same shoulder that had been shot 6 months ago. It still ached sometimes, but it had healed, just like other things had healed. You guard people, Taeyang, not treasures, not possessions, people. You guard their lives, their hope, their ability to trust again. That's your real gift. That's what makes humans special. 3 weeks later, Taeyang stood at attention in the Grand Council chamber. He was wearing his full dress uniform, the one he only wore for official ceremonies. Around him stood ambassadors from every major species in the galaxy. Katharn was there too, looking uncomfortable but respectful. Zubin stood near the back, grinning at him. Jareth stood at the podium addressing the Council of Nine and everyone assembled. Today, Earth joins us as a full member of the Galactic Alliance. This is unprecedented. This is historic. But it is also deserved. Humanity has shown us something we had forgotten. They have shown us that honor still exists, that loyalty is real, that some beings cannot be bought or corrupted no matter the temptation. She gestured to Taeyang. This human Taeyang Kim saved my life. But more than that, he saved my faith. He reminded me that trust is possible, that integrity matters, that when someone gives you their word, it can mean something. He did this not through grand gestures or political maneuvering. He did it by simply being who he is, by keeping his promises, by guarding not treasures but people. The council chamber erupted in applause. The first thing he did was look at Zareth. "Are you hurt, counselor?" She was as Taeyang woke up in the medical bay. His shoulder throbbed with a deep, steady pain, but it was manageable. The Viridian doctors had good technology. He tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. His whole body felt like someone had beaten him with hammers. "Don't move." The voice was soft but commanding. Zareth was sitting in a chair next to his bed. She looked different somehow, smaller, more human, though that didn't make sense. She was still 7 feet tall and glowing with that internal light. But something in her eyes had changed. "Counselor, I should be on duty. You shouldn't be unguarded. Catharn and a full security team are outside the door. You are not on duty. You are recovering from being shot while saving my life." She leaned forward. "Why did you do it?" "It's my job." "No." Zareth's voice was sharp. "Your job is to stand guard. Your job is to watch for threats. Your job is not to throw yourself in front of assassin drones or fight military-grade weapons while wounded." Taeyang didn't know what to say to that. He had just reacted. There hadn't been time to think about job descriptions or contract details. There had only been time to act. "I made a promise," he said finally. "I told you nothing would hurt you while I was your guard. I keep my promises." Zareth was silent for a long moment. Then she did something that surprised him. She stood up and walked to a console on the wall. She pressed several buttons and a holographic display appeared in the air between them. "I need to show you something." She manipulated the display and suddenly Taeyang was looking at himself, at multiple versions of himself. It was security footage from her quarters. From the moment he entered, the cameras showed everything. Him scanning the room, him discovering the drone, him positioning himself, him gathering up treasures while moving strategically. "I watched this 3 times, Zareth said quietly. "I needed to understand what happened. Because what I thought I saw and what actually happened are very different things." The footage played on. Taeyang saw himself throw the case containing the Star of Kethris, saw himself get shot, saw himself kill the drone even while wounded, and then saw himself fall to his knees, blood running down his arm, and his first words were asking if she was hurt. "You never intended to steal anything," Zareth said. It wasn't a question. It was a statement of fact that seemed to hurt her to say out loud. "No, counselor. You knew you were being recorded. You knew what it would look like. You knew I would think you were just another failed guard." She turned to look at him. "And you did it anyway. Because protecting me was more important than protecting your reputation. My reputation doesn't matter. Your life does." Zareth walked back to her chair and sat down heavily. She suddenly looked very tired. Very old, though Taeyang knew she was still young by Viridian standards. "I need to tell you something. A truth I have told no one else." She took a deep breath.
3 years ago, I had a friend.
A real friend, not an ally or a political connection. Her name was Lithara. She was my personal guard and the only being I truly trusted. Zareth's voice cracked slightly. "She was also hired by my enemies to kill me. She poisoned my food over the course of months, small doses, undetectable. When I finally realized what was happening, she tried to finish the job with a knife. I survived. She did not." Taeyang listened in silence. He was beginning to understand. "After that, I could not trust anyone. I could not let anyone close. So I created the test. I would leave valuables out. I would tempt my guards. I would prove to myself that everyone could be corrupted. That everyone had a price. That no one could be trusted." Zareth looked at him with those purple eyes, and now he could see the pain in them. 17 guards. 17 species. All of them took something. All of them proved me right. And then I came along, and then you came along. And for 5 weeks you took nothing. You ignored treasures worth planets. You walked past items that could make you rich beyond imagination. And I kept pushing, kept leaving more, kept making it more obvious. Because I needed you to fail. I needed proof that I was right to trust no one. But I didn't fail. No, you didn't. And tonight I thought I finally had my proof. I walked into my quarters and saw you standing there with your arms full of stolen goods. I saw you holding my weapon, and I felt relieved. Relieved that you had finally broken, that you were like all the others." Zareth's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "And then you saved my life. And I realized something terrible." "What?" "That I had created this situation. That assassin knew about my test, knew I would leave my quarters unsealed. Knew I would be recording everything. They used my own paranoia against me. They set a trap using my trap. She looked away. And you nearly died because of it. Taeyang processed this information. The assassin had been smart. Very smart. They had known Zareth's psychology, had known her habits, had known exactly how to exploit her weaknesses. Who sent the drone? He asked. We captured the Korthan assassin an hour ago. A male named Vrex. He is a professional. One of the best. He was hired by a rival political faction to eliminate me during the peace talks next month. Zareth stood and paced the small room. He confessed everything. He had been watching me for weeks, studying my patterns. He knew about the test. He knew my guards would be distracted by temptation. He thought it was the perfect moment to strike. He didn't count on me not being distracted. No, he didn't, neither did I. Zareth stopped pacing and looked at him. Taeyang Kim, you did not guard my treasures tonight. You guarded me. You put your life between me and danger. You took a shot meant for me. You asked if I was hurt before you asked for help for yourself. Her voice was full of something Taeyang couldn't quite identify. Wonder, maybe, or confusion. Why? Why would you do that? You barely know me. You don't owe me anything except contracted service. Taeyang thought about how to explain it, how to make her understand something that seemed so obvious to him. Where I come from, when you give someone your word, it means something. When you promise to protect someone, you do it completely, not halfway, not only when it's convenient, completely. He met her eyes. I promised you nothing would hurt you while I was your guard. That promise doesn't have exceptions for valuable treasures or recording devices or what you think of me. It's just the promise. And I keep my promises. Even when the person you made the promise to was trying to prove you would break it? Especially then. Zareth sat back down. She looked at Taeyang for a long time without speaking. Finally she said, I owe you an apology. I have treated you badly. I have tested you unfairly. I have tried to make you fail, and when you succeeded, when you proved yourself beyond any doubt, I still doubted you. I saw you holding stolen treasures and believed the worst immediately. You had reasons to doubt. Valid reasons, perhaps, but that does not make it right. Zareth reached into her robes and pulled out a data pad. I am releasing you from your contract. Effective immediately. I am paying you triple the agreed amount. You have more than earned it. You can take the money, return to Earth, and save your sister's life. You will never have to see me again. You will never have to deal with my tests or my suspicions or my inability to trust. She held out the pad to him. You are free to go. Taeyang looked at the pad. Triple pay. Enough money to save Hana 3 times over. Enough money to never have to worry about anything ever again. Freedom from this ship and this alien counselor who had spent 5 weeks trying to prove he was a thief. He should take it. Any smart person would take it. No, he said. Zareth blinked. No? The contract is for 6 months. It's only been 5 weeks. You still have enemies. Rex might have been working alone, or he might have backup. There might be more assassination attempts. You need protection. Taeyang tried to sit up again, and this time he managed it, though his shoulder screamed in protest. So no, I'm not taking the money and leaving. I'm staying. I'm finishing the contract. I'm keeping my promise, but why? After everything I put you through. After I tried to break you. After I assumed the worst of you. Why would you stay? Taeyang smiled slightly. It hurt to smile, but he did it anyway. Because a promise is a promise, counselor. And because now I know something important. I know you need someone you can trust. Someone who won't betray you. Someone who keeps their word even when it's hard. He looked directly at her. And I also know something else. You're not just testing your guards. You're punishing yourself. You're making sure no one gets close because you're afraid of being hurt again, and that's not a way to live. Zareth stared at him. Her purple eyes were wide. She looked like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. So here's my offer, Taeyang continued. I'll stay. I'll finish the contract. I'll protect you from anyone who tries to hurt you. And in return, you stop testing me. You stop leaving treasures around. You stop assuming I'm going to betray you. You trust me. Really trust me. Just for the next 4.5 months. And we'll see what happens. Just trust you. Just like that. Just like that. And if you fail, if you betray that trust, then you can tell everyone you were right all along. But I won't fail, counselor. I'm not like the others. I'm not like Lithara. When I give my word, I keep it. Every time. No matter what. Zareth stood up slowly. She walked to the window and looked out at the ship's lights had dimmed to simulate night when Zareth called Taeyang to her quarters. He had been half asleep in his room, but he was at her door within 90 seconds. "Training never left you. I have an urgent diplomatic meeting," she said when he arrived. "It cannot wait. I will be in the council chambers for at least 2 hours, perhaps 3. Taeyang noticed she was wearing her formal robes, the ones she only wore for important occasions. "Do you need me to accompany you, counselor?" "No, you will remain here. Perform your usual security sweep of my quarters. Make sure everything is secure." She walked past him toward the door, then paused. "And Taeyang, do not wait up. This meeting may take longer than expected." Then she was gone. The door closed behind her with a soft hiss. Taeyang stood alone in the hallway for a moment. Something felt wrong. After 5 weeks of guarding Zarith, he had learned to read her moods. She was always calm, always controlled. But tonight there had been something different in her voice, something almost eager. He pushed the thought away and entered her quarters. The door was unsealed. That was unusual. Zarith always sealed her door when she left. Always. Even when he was standing right outside. The quarters were dark except for the soft glow of the crystal walls. Taeyang turned on his wrist light and began his sweep. Standard procedure. Check the sleeping area. Check the bathroom. Check the meditation chamber. Check for any signs of intrusion or tampering. Everything seemed normal until he reached the main living area. And then he stopped. His breath caught in his throat. The room looked like a museum. Or like a trap. On every surface, scattered carelessly like someone's old clothes, were treasures. Real treasures. Not just valuable items. These were legendary pieces. Things that Taeyang had only heard about in stories. On the center table, spread out like playing cards, were treasury bonds. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. Each one worth millions of credits, transferable, untraceable, anonymous. Anyone could use them. Anyone could cash them. No questions asked. Next to the bonds was a case. It was made of quantum-locked material that shimmered with impossible colors. Through the transparent lid, Taeyang could see a gem. But not just any gem. He recognized it from the historical files he had studied. The Star of Kethris. In Viridian mythology, it was a wish-granting stone. In reality, it was the single most valuable object in the known galaxy. Museums had tried to buy it. Collectors had offered entire worlds for it. And here it was, in a case that wasn't even properly locked. The quantum seal was disabled. He could see the indicator light. Green. Unlocked. Open. All around the room were more items. Ancient weapons. Cultural artifacts. Data cores containing information that could topple governments. All of it just lying there. Waiting. Taeyang stood in the doorway and felt the weight of it all pressing down on him. This was it. This was the final test. The ultimate temptation. Everything he needed and more. Everything he could ever want. Just sitting there, almost begging to be taken. He thought of Hana. She was running out of time. The doctors had said maybe 3 more months. Maybe less. 3 months before his baby sister died. And here, right in front of him, was the solution to everything. One treasury bond, just one. It would save her life. It would save his whole family. His hand moved toward the table. His fingers reached out and then his training kicked in. Something was wrong. This wasn't just a test. This was too much. Too obvious. Too perfect. Like a stage set. Like a trap. Taeyang pulled his hand back and activated his tactical scanner. It was a small device on his wrist, military grade, designed to detect surveillance equipment and threats. He swept the room slowly, methodically, 7 microdrones, small as insects, floating in the shadows, all of them pointed at the treasure table, all of them recording, watching, waiting to capture the moment when he finally broke. But there was something else. Another signal, stronger, different, not a surveillance drone. Taeyang's blood went cold. He recognized that signature. He had seen it before in combat, in war zones, in places where people died. An assassination drone, military grade. Armed and active. Someone else was in the room. Taeyang moved without thinking. His hand went to his sidearm. His body dropped into a combat stance. His eyes scanned the shadows. The drone was behind the display case. Behind the Star of Kethris, hidden perfectly. Waiting. But waiting for what? For him to take something? No, that didn't make sense. An assassination drone didn't care about theft. It cared about one thing. Killing its target, and then he understood. Someone was using Zareth's test as cover. Someone knew she would leave her quarters unsealed. Someone knew she would scatter treasures everywhere as bait. Someone knew her guards would be distracted by temptation. The perfect moment to strike. Taeyang's mind raced. If he raised the alarm now, the drone would activate immediately. It would fire at whatever target it was programmed for. Probably Zareth when she returned. Or maybe him for discovering it. Either way, people would die. He needed a plan. Fast. The tactical scanner gave him more information. The drone was sophisticated. Corthan design, probably. They made the best assassin equipment. It was in stealth mode but active. Waiting for its trigger. That trigger could be anything. A specific time. A specific person entering the room. A specific command from its controller. Taeyang moved slowly toward the table. Toward the plasma sidearm that Zareth had carelessly left there. The weapon she probably expected him to steal. Instead, he was going to use it to save her life. His hand closed around the weapon. It was heavier than human guns. Designed for larger hands, but he had trained with alien weapons before. He could make it work. The drone shifted slightly. Its sensors had detected his movement. It was tracking him now. Deciding if he was a threat, Taeyang needed to make a choice fast. He could try to shoot the drone, but if he missed, it would activate and complete its mission. If he hit it, it might explode, setting off a chain reaction with all the treasures in the room. The Star of Kethris alone was rumored to be unstable. Shooting near it could destroy half the ship, or he could wait, try to signal for help. But the moment he activated his communicator, the drone might interpret that as a threat and fire, or he could do something crazy, something unpredictable, something the drone wouldn't expect. Taeyang smiled grimly. He had always been good at crazy. He grabbed one of the treasury bonds off the table, then another, and another. He started gathering them up, making a show of it. Acting like a thief, like someone who had finally broken, who had finally given in to temptation. The micro-drones would be recording this. Good, let them. Let whoever was watching think he was just another failed guard, just another human who couldn't resist. He moved around the room, collecting items, getting closer to the assassination drone with each pass. The drone's sensors followed him but didn't activate. He wasn't the target. He was just another corrupt guard. Beneath notice, Taeyang positioned himself between the drone and the door, between the drone and where Zareth would enter when she returned. If this thing activated, it would have to go through him first, and then he waited. His heart pounding, his hands full of stolen treasures, his body ready to move at the first sign of activation. Minutes passed. They felt like hours, and then he heard it. Footsteps in the hallway. Someone was coming. Multiple someones from the sound of it. The drone powered up. Taeyang heard the high-pitched whine of its weapons charging. It was preparing to fire. The target was approaching. The door opened. Zareth walked in. Behind her was Catharn and 2 other Viridian guards. They all stopped when they saw Taeyang standing there, arms full of stolen goods, Zareth's plasma weapon in his hand. Catharn smiled triumphantly. I told you, all humans are the same. They all steal. Zareth said nothing. She just looked at Taeyang with those purple eyes. And for the first time since he met her, he saw something in her expression. Disappointment. Deep, terrible disappointment. Counselor, get down, Taeyang shouted. There's an assassin drone behind the world exploded into light and sound. The drone fired. Taeyang moved. And everything went to hell. The fight was brief and brutal. Taeyang threw himself at Zareth, knocking her to the ground just as the drone's first shot turned the doorframe into molten metal. Catharn shouted something in Viridian. The other guards pulled weapons. Taeyang rolled to his feet, still holding Zareth's plasma sidearm, and fired at the drone. His first shot missed. The drone was fast, darting through the air like an angry wasp. His second shot clipped its wing. It spun, reoriented, and fired again. The shot hit Taeyang in the shoulder. Pain exploded through his body. He felt his arm go numb, but he didn't stop. He couldn't stop. Because Zareth was still in the line of fire. With his good arm, he grabbed the case containing the Star of Kethris and threw it at the drone. The assassin machine dodged, but it gave Taeyang the half-second he needed. He aimed carefully, ignoring the pain, ignoring everything except the target, and fired. The plasma bolt hit the drone dead center. It exploded in a shower of sparks and burning metal. Pieces rained down across the room. For a moment, there was silence. Just the sound of Taeyang's ragged breathing and the smell of burnt electronics. Then he fell to his knees. The adrenaline was wearing off. The pain was coming back. His shoulder felt like it was on fire, but the first thing he did wasn't call for help. 3 weeks had passed since Taeyang started working for Jareth, and everything seemed normal. Too normal. That's what bothered him. He followed her everywhere, to meetings with alien ambassadors, to fancy dinners with species he couldn't even pronounce the names of, to private meditation sessions where she would float in the air for hours saying nothing. He stood guard, watched for threats, and kept his mouth shut. But something was wrong. He could feel it. "You look worried." The voice came from behind him. Taeyang turned to see another human, a woman about his age with short black hair and tired eyes. "I'm Subin, I work in engineering." "Taeyang." He kept his voice low. They were standing in one of the ship's common areas during Zareth's daily rest period. "What makes you think I'm worried?" Sobin laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Because you're her new guard, and you've lasted 3 weeks. That's longer than most." She sat down at a nearby table and gestured for him to join her. "You haven't figured it out yet, have you?" "Figured what out?" "The test." Subin looked around to make sure no one was listening. "She does it to all her guards. She's testing you right now and you don't even know it." Taeyang felt his stomach tighten. "What kind of test?" "Look around her quarters next time you're there. Really look. Tell me what you see." That afternoon, when Taeyang followed Jareth back to her private rooms, he looked. Really looked. And what he saw made his blood run cold. On a small table near the door there was a crystalline gem. It was beautiful, glowing with its own internal light. Taeyang knew what it was. A Viridian soul gem. He had seen them in the briefing materials. They were priceless. One gem could buy a small planet, and it was just sitting there. No case, no guard, nothing. The next day it got worse. Zareth had meetings in the diplomatic wing. Taeyang followed her as always. But when she entered the conference room, she left her personal data pad on a bench in the hallway. Just left it there. That pad contained access codes to Viridian military networks. It contained secrets that nations would kill for. And she left it lying on a bench like it was garbage. Taeyang picked it up and brought it to her immediately. She took it from him without a word, without even looking at him. Like it meant nothing. The pattern continued. Every day something new. Her plasma sidearm left in the bathroom. Treasury bonds worth billions left on her dining table. A quantum key that could open any door in the ship just sitting on her desk where anyone could take it. Taeyang saw it all. And he understood now what Subin had meant. This was the test. She's waiting for you to steal something. Subin met him again in the common area a week later. She looked sad. That's what happened to all the others. They couldn't resist. They'd take something small at first. Just one little thing. They'd tell themselves they deserved it, that she had so much and they had so little. And then she'd catch them, and they'd be gone. How do you know all this? Because I've been on this ship for 2 years. I've seen 17 guards come and go. 17 good people, Taeyang. Smart people, strong people. All of them failed. Subin leaned forward. The Viridian security chief Catharn, he runs a betting pool. He's betting you'll fail within a week. He says all humans are thieves at heart. Taeyang felt anger rise in his chest. We're not thieves. Then prove it. Because right now half the ship is watching you, waiting for you to fail. That night Taeyang couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the treasures scattered around Zareth's quarters. He kept thinking about Hana, and how much money those items could bring. Just one soul gem, just one. It would pay for her treatment twice over. Zareth would never even notice it was gone. She had dozens of them. But even as he thought it, he knew he would never do it. His father had raised him better than that. His father had been a factory worker poor his whole life. But he had always said the same thing. A man's word is all he has. His honor is all that matters. Money comes and goes, but once you lose your honor, you can never get it back. Taeyang had given his word to Zareth. He had promised to protect her and her property. It didn't matter how much he needed the money. It didn't matter how easy it would be. He had made a promise. The next morning, things got even more obvious. Zareth called him into her quarters. She was getting ready for a meeting, her back turned to him. I will be in negotiations for the next 3 hours, she said. You will wait outside the conference room. Do not enter unless I call for you. Yes, counselor, she left without another word. And there, spread across her table like someone had thrown them there carelessly, were bonds. Pan-galactic treasury bonds. Transferable. untraceable, worth more money than Taeyang could spend in 10 lifetimes. He stared at them for a long moment. His hands shook. It would be so easy. So incredibly easy. Just take one, just one. She had so many. She would never know, but he would know. Taeyang turned and walked out of the room. His heart was pounding. His palms were sweating, but he kept walking. In the hallway, he nearly ran into Catharn, the Viridian security chief. The alien looked at him with those strange crystalline eyes and smiled. It was not a nice smile. "You came out empty-handed," Catharn said in standard. Surprising. For a human. "I'm here to do a job, not rob my employer." "We will see. The week is not over yet, human, and my experience tells me that your kind always takes what does not belong to them. It is your nature." Catharn leaned closer. "I have bet considerable money on your failure. Please do not disappoint me." Taeyang said nothing. He just walked past the security chief and took his position outside the conference room. But inside, his mind was racing. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about proving something. Proving that humans were more than what these aliens thought. Proving that honor and integrity meant something. Proving that when a human gave his word, he kept it, no matter the cost. That evening, Subin found him again. She looked surprised. "You're still here." Catharn is furious. "He's telling everyone his bet was wrong." She smiled. "You're doing it, Taeyang. You're actually passing the test." "It's not over yet," Taeyang said quietly. "No, it's not. And that's what worries me." Subin's smile faded. "Because the longer you last, the more valuable the things she'll leave out. She's going to push you until you break. That's what she does. She needs to prove that everyone can be corrupted, that everyone has a price. Then she's going to be disappointed. I hope you're right." "I really do." Subin stood to leave, then turned back. "Taeyang, why are you really doing this? It's not just about the money, is it?" Taeyang thought about his father, about Hana, about all the times in his life when he could have taken the easy way and didn't, about who he was and who he wanted to be. "No," he said finally. "It's not just about the money. It's about keeping my word. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." Subin nodded slowly. "Then maybe you'll be the first to pass. Maybe." But as Taeyang lay in his quarters that night, he wondered, how much more could he take? How much more temptation could he endure? And what would Zareth do when she realized he wouldn't break? He had a feeling he was about to find out. Taeyang Kim stood in the docking bay of the Viridian Star Carrier and tried not to show his nervousness. The massive ship stretched out in every direction, its walls glowing with soft blue light. Everything here was enormous, built for beings much larger than humans. He felt small and he hated that feeling. "You sure about this?" The voice crackled in his earpiece. It was Do-hyun, his handler back on Earth. "It's not too late to back out." Taeyang touched the small device in his ear. "I need the money, Do-hyun. You know that, I know. But 17 guards before you, Taeyang. 17, all of them failed. All of them got kicked out in shame." Do-hyun's voice was tight with worry. "Whatever test she gives you, it's designed to make you fail." "Then I won't fail." Taeyang said it with more confidence than he felt. The truth was, he needed this job desperately. His sister Hana was sick, very sick. The treatments she needed cost more money than he could make in 5 years of normal work. But this job, this one contract with Counselor Zareth, would pay enough to save her life. He would do whatever it took. A door opened ahead of him and 3 alien guards walked out. They were Viridians, tall and thin with skin that shimmered like oil on water. Their eyes were large and crystalline, reflecting light in strange ways. They looked at Taeyang and one of them made a sound that his translator couldn't quite catch. But the meaning was clear enough. They were laughing at him. "The human thinks he will last longer than the others," one of them said in broken standard. "Poor little human." Taeyang said nothing. He had learned a long time ago that words meant nothing. Only actions mattered. They led him through corridors that twisted and turned. The ship was a maze, but Taeyang's training kicked in automatically. He memorized every turn, every door, every exit. Old habits from his Special Forces days. Always know the way out. Always count your exits. Finally, they reached a set of massive doors. They opened silently, and Taeyang stepped into the most beautiful room he had ever seen. The walls were made of something that looked like crystal but moved like water. Colors shifted across every surface. In the center of the room, sitting on a floating chair, was Zareth. She was stunning and terrifying at the same time. Her skin was pale blue and seemed to glow from within. Her eyes were the deepest purple he had ever seen, and when they focused on him, he felt like she could see through his skull into his thoughts. She wore robes that floated around her as if they were alive. Jewels covered her neck and arms, each one probably worth more than his entire planet. The human. Her voice was like music, but cold music, beautiful and distant. Taeyang Kim, 28 years old, former Earth Special Forces, dishonorably discharged for disobeying orders to abandon civilians during the Mumbai crisis. Taeyang kept his face neutral. That discharge had been the hardest day of his life. He had saved 60 people by disobeying his commander's retreat order. They called him a hero on the news. His military called him a traitor. Both things were true, depending on who you asked. "I saved those people," he said quietly. "Yes, you did." Zareth stood and walked toward him. She was nearly 7 feet tall, and she moved like water flowing downhill. "You chose people over orders, over rules, over your own future." She circled him slowly. "Interesting. Is that a problem, counselor?" "That depends." She stopped in front of him. "Why do you want this job, Taeyang Kim?" "My sister is sick. I need the money for her treatment." "Honest. Also interesting." Zareth's purple eyes studied him. "Most beings would lie. Would say they want to serve the great Viridian Empire. Would say they dream of protecting someone as important as me." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You just want money. At least that is honest. I won't lie to you, counselor. Not about why I'm here. But I will do my job. I will protect you with my life if needed. Will you?" She turned away from him and walked back to her chair. 17 guards before you said the same thing. 17 guards who came from species far more advanced than yours. Stronger, faster, better technology, better training. She sat down and looked at him again. "They all failed. What makes you think you will succeed?" Taeyang thought about that question. What did make him different? He wasn't stronger than a Korthan warrior. He wasn't faster than a Xyloth hunter. He didn't have the telepathic abilities of a Mindari guardian. He was just human. Just a man who needed money to save his sister. "I don't know if I'm better than them," he said finally. "But I know one thing. When I give my word, I keep it. And I give you my word now. While I'm your guard, nothing will hurt you. Nothing." For a long moment, Zareth said nothing. She just stared at him with those impossible purple eyes. Then slowly she nodded. "We will see. Your quarters are on level 7. You will stay within 3 corridors of my location at all times. You will eat what I eat, sleep when I sleep, and be ready to move at any moment. Your previous life is over. You belong to me now until the contract ends in 6 months." She waved her hand. "Go. Report for duty at dawn cycle." As Taeyang left the room, he heard her voice one more time, so soft he almost missed it. "They all say they will keep their word. Every single one." That night in his small quarters, Taeyang sent a message to Hana. He told her he had the job. He told her everything would be okay. He told her to start looking at treatment centers because soon they would have the money. He didn't tell her about the 17 guards who failed before him. He didn't tell her about the way Zareth looked at him like he was already defeated. He didn't tell her he was scared. Instead, he checked his equipment one more time and tried to sleep. Tomorrow his real test would begin. Whatever Zareth had planned for him, whatever had broken 17 guards before him, he would face it. He had no choice. Hana's life depended on it, and Taeyang Kim had never broken a promise to his sister. He wasn't about to start now.